Does Buu exist in future Trunks' timeline? This question has been brought up time and time again, and yes, that was an intended pun. Does Buu exist in future Trunks' timeline or in any of the alternate Dragon Ball Z timelines? Well, let's talk about it on Dragon Ball in depth.
この放送はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
To answer the question, does Buu exist in Trunks' future, you'd have to first figure out whether or not Babidi and Dabura do, same with Kaioshin, and the answer is that they do exist because it would appear that Cell or 17 or 18 or any of the Z fighters would not have had any adverse effect on them existing. In Trunks' timeline, it's still very plausible that Babidi would have recruited Dabura from the Demon Realm as well as others to help him release Majin Buu from his incarceration. The events of the Buu saga take place in the month of May in age 774. Try to follow me. If you look at the timeline and assume that a butterfly effect did not occur, age 774 in Trunks' timeline was vastly different than what we saw in the Buu saga. Goku died of his heart disease in age 766, and the remaining Z fighters were all wiped out by 17 and 18 in age 767. After being defeated by 17 and 18 once again, Trunks took the time machine back and left the future in age 784, 10 years after Babidi was supposed to appear. So what could have happened in age 774 in Trunks' timeline? Hypothetically speaking, there are only a few possibilities here. So let's say Babidi arrives in the Trunks timeline in age 774 as he was supposed to. He went ahead and recruited a few warriors, but soon discovered that with Goku and the Z fighters being dead, the majority of the strongest warriors in the world were nowhere to be found, with the exception of Gohan, Trunks, 17, and 18. Keep in mind that future Trunks would have just been roughly around 8 years old, and future Gohan was nowhere close to being as mighty as the main timeline Gohan. Plus, it's said a few times in the series that future 17 and 18, while being much more ruthless, were also weaker than their main timeline counterparts. The power of the clash between Goku and Majin Vegeta would be significantly higher than any battle that could have possibly taken place in Trunks' timeline in age 774, and there is no way they could even provide half as much energy to bring Buu out. At this point, Kaioshin may have just still appeared with Kibito and put a stop to Babidi, but then that begs the question, who would he bring with him? If we are to believe that Dabura is on the same level of Cell, then wouldn't that make him the strongest being on Earth in future Trunks' timeline? So there's no way that even if all of the good guys teamed up, that they could possibly take on Dabura, and that's not even factoring in Yakan, Pui Pui, or his ability to turn people into stone. Plus, why wouldn't Kaioshin have helped out against 17 and 18? But really, what could he have done? I know some people would think that Olibu or Paikuhan or Paikon in the dub would have helped, but remember, they are anime-only filler characters. The only being stronger than Dabura, much less Buu, in Universe 7 at the time would have been the God of Destruction Beerus, who was sound asleep, and of course Whis, who was so far away from Earth he probably didn't even know or probably didn't even care. That brings me to another theory. One of the most popular fan headcanons to try to answer this question is that the entire reason as to why Babidi chose to come to Earth in the first place was because of the immense level of energy that Gohan and Cell put out during their epic beam struggle at the climax of the Cell saga that Babidi was able to sense. Now, of course, Buu's shell was already on Earth, but It's possible that the energy that Gohan and Cell put out was the catalyst for him to realize that it was now possible to bring Buu back for real. So if Gohan and Perfect Cell had never battled, the Buu saga may not have happened, and obviously that didn't happen in Trunks' future. So it's possible that Babidi could have come to Earth, grabbed the sphere that Buu was contained in, continued to search for a planet filled with more powerful warriors to gather energy from, and thus given the Kais more time to find Babidi and put a stop to him before Buu was able to be unleashed. The same would obviously apply to the other timelines, which were all void of strong warriors. So this theory, I think, has some merit and does make sense to me. It seems extremely unlikely that Buu was ever hatched in Trunks' future at all. There is a video game called Shin Budokai Another Road which explored this possibility, but was very poorly thought out, using material and characters from the Dragon Ball Z movies and Bardock and whatnot, which is fine for a video game but not really logical for a real story about the existence of Buu in Trunks' future. It does go back to casuality. The Z Fighters had to survive in order for the events of the Buu saga to even have happened. So that concludes this edition of Dragon Ball In Depth. This does beg the question, other than Xenoverse and other video games, will we ever see future Trunks or any of his adventures again in any Dragon Ball anime or manga? There's no doubt he's very popular, just like Bardock. Maybe they should bring him back too. I'll catch you down the other road. Hey Super Tubers, don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and spread the word about the channel, and find me on these social media platforms.